What is up, wrestling fans? JP from KayFabe Chronicles coming to you with yet another video. 2016 has been truly an insane year in wrestling and in just the real world in general. There's been many great matches, many horrible matches, but you know what? You can't win them all. The entire year I've been compiling a list of all my favorite matches, and most recently I was going over the list so I can narrow them down to my top 5 pick for my favorite matches of 2016 for WWE and NXT. So without further ado, here's my list for Top 5 WWE NXT matches of 2016. Starting with an honorable mention. DIY versus The Revival, NXT Takeover Toronto. The tag division in NXT this year has been absolutely breathtaking. So many classic matches coming out of it this year. You have American Alpha versus The Revival, DIY versus The Revival at the earlier NXT. But this match really spoke the most to me. Going into this match, I think that it actually had the best storyline and best story building leading up to it. It was the entire, DIY losing at the previous NXT TakeOver event, and, this was their last opportunity to win the titles, and, you really got behind them. You really felt for them. You really felt that they were robbed the first time, that they truly deserved this match. The match itself was completely breathtaking from the start of the match. So many double teams from both teams. I talked about in my earlier review that I believed that this would be the match of the night at that pay-per-view, and it truly, completely just blew the show out of the water. All in all, both teams worked absolutely amazing together, but what it came down to at the end was, I said, storytelling. If DIY won, it would have been great. Yay, hooray, and they did win. But if the Revival won, it still would have made me fully interested in this feud. I felt that the entire thing came full circle. Just the ending itself was absolutely out of this world. Just locking both members of the members of the Revival into a double submission hold and having them both tap out was a really, really good storyline move in NXT. You know what? I'm really excited to see where the NXT tag division goes, because American Alpha obviously moved up into the main picture. The Revival will probably be next to get called up, and then of course DIY will eventually get called up to the main roster. So I'm just looking forward to seeing what NXT does in the next little while. Now, I know a lot of people deem this match a lot higher, and truly, in my opinion, it was an awesome match, but just sadly there's just a lot of other stuff that I felt delivered a little bit more for the full spectrum. But overall, this was truly an awesome match. Both teams gave it their all. It was super fun to watch, and it's the reason that it's on the list, just slightly under it. So good job, guys. Very awesome match. It was truly one of the best matches of the year. Number 5. The CWC Cruiserweight Classic Tournament. Now, I know what you guys are thinking. It's the top matches, but the CWC, every single match in that entire tournament was absolutely out of this world, and it would be a complete crime if I left it off. Sadly, I can't pick my favorite match out of that tournament because the entire tournament blew me away from the ringing of the bell from the first match up until the end when Perkins was handed the championship. It was absolutely the way the cruiserweights should be portrayed in the WWE. The benefits that I really thought made this tournament stand out compared to a lot of the other matches was the fact that it gave a lot of fans who aren't too familiar with any of the other wrestling industries, I only watch WWE, I only watch Ring of Honor, I only watch TNA. This gave the crowd an opportunity to see people from all over the world and all different brands essentially competing in the same tournament for one common goal, and that was ultimately to win the tournament and win the championship. And just every match was absolutely phenomenal. Just the high-flying moves, just all the crazy stuff going back and forth. The way that they portrayed the sportsmanship of each match. Beginning of the match, they would shake the hands. At the end of the match, the referee would stand in the middle and raise the winner's hands, and they would hug it out at the end. It was just truly something that I think the wrestling needs to kind of go back to. It's like the whole, the honor code in Ring of Honor. It's very similar to that, where they, shake hands before every match. That's really great. All in all, like I said, it was the way that the cruiserweight should be represented. Fast forward to now, however, I've said it a million times, I feel like a broken record, but the cruiserweight division is in dire need right now. And recently, with Neville throwing his hat into it, I believe that that is the right direction WWE needs to do, but it shouldn't have had to result in that. They should have had to get going from right off the bat. Like, the complete positiveness and the fact that the Cruiserweight Classic was one of the best things to happen in the year should have been the correct building blocks for the Cruiserweight division to be decent. But unfortunately, it just fell flat after the tournament. Like, yeah, T.J. Perkins had great matches with Brian Kendrick, but that thing was only them. Every other match didn't make any sense. They were just kind of throwing them randomly in a match with no storyline, no builds, or anything. Granted, now, hopefully with Neville stepping in, it is going to go in the right direction, but I just feel like the Cruiserweight division, went from up here to down here pretty damn quick. But the CWC, truly one of the best things of the entire year. It opened up my eyes to a lot of great up-and-coming talents out there, and I'm really glad that I was able to witness all of it. And I have a lot of favorite new wrestlers because of it too. So good on you, WWE. Great job on the CWC. Truly one of the best matches of the year. Number 4. Sami Zayn versus Shinsuke Nakamura, NXT TakeOver Dallas. Now, leading into this event itself, everyone knew that Sami Zayn's time in NXT was pretty much up. Like, he made his main roster debut technically at the Royal Rumble, where he once again sparked his feud with Kevin Owens, and everyone knew that, by him being in the ladder match against Kevin Owens, that they would obviously stretch out this feud against him. So having Sami stay in NXT didn't make any sense storyline-wise. So who could they get to fight Sami Zayn on his swan song? And you know what? When they released that it was going to be Shinsuke Nakamura, I absolutely crapped my pants with joy. How else are you going to, bring in such a wonderful, all-time great competitor like Shinsuke for his debut match in NXT and WWE, then, of course, to fight Sami Zayn on his swan song of leaving NXT. The build-up to the match was absolutely great because you knew that both of these guys were going to tear down the house. And as soon as the bell rang, just absolute mayhem. They worked so well against each other, just the high-flying moves of Sami and the strong striking style of Shinsuke just complemented each other so well. There were so many high points in that match where I can't even narrow it down. I was in complete shock and awe the entire time I was watching this. It felt like that fight scene in Daredevil, on Netflix, where Daredevil fights the 30 guys all in one shot, one take, and he's getting tired and he's getting tired. That's what these two guys are doing. They were just beating the living hell out of each other, and you could see it in their faces, you could see it in their body. They were selling each other's moves, they were showing the exhaustion, because I bet you they probably were freaking exhausted during that match. And just overall, just the entire way that they composed one another to push each other to the limit. No matter what one person would do, the next guy would try to one-up them. And they just kept growing and layering and layering and layering until the end of the match. Obviously at the end, Shinsuke hit Sami with the Kinshasa, pinned him 1, 2, 3. And the audience just absolutely stood up and lost their minds. They were cheering, thank you, Sami, because they knew that it was Sami Zayn's last NXT match, because he would be obviously making his permanent debut the following night at WrestleMania. And of course, it was kind of the passing of the torch of Sami handing the torch down to Shinsuke, saying, all right, I've done my time here, now it's your time to shine. Just the fact that they shook hands, hugged it out at the end of the match was just a true moment of sportsmanship, and just everything leading up to the match, during the match, and after was truly memorable, and I'm very blessed to have seen it, and it's definitely one of my favorite matches of the year. Number 3. Sami Zayn versus Kevin Owens, Battleground. Now, what makes a great feud? Obviously, two wrestlers that work extremely well together and have absolute amazing chemistry, but above all, I think the best feuds in WWE are those with a storyline, with proper writing, proper build, and proper finish. And the feud between Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens this past year was by far one of the best feuds I've seen in an absolute long time. Pretty much the way it started off at NXT, where Kevin Owens turned on Sami Zayn, therefore setting up their upcoming feud for the NXT Championship, was by far the best way to actually fully start that. As I've said in a lot of my previous other videos in regards to Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. Unfortunately, with Sami Zayn's injury, the feud did have to take a slight back burner up until his shoulder injury healed. But as soon as he came back at the Royal Rumble, you knew that this year was definitely going to be a huge treat for this feud. Obviously, it ultimately culminated in a battleground between the two, and by far that match stole the absolute shit out of the night. Everything that they did, just the moves that they put on for each other. Like I said, they fought so many times in the past that they just know how to work well together. The highlight of the match for me was obviously at the end, where he hits him with the haluva kick and then picks him up and just stares at him. And you think that, for that split second, Sami's going to have like that slight moment of compassion, but fuck no. He kicks Kevin Owens in the face one more time and thus ends the feud. It was by far one of the best matches of the entire year, which is why it's on this list. Best match of Battleground, and by far the best feud of the year. I hope that these two guys, even though they've fought millions of times before in the past, I hope that both of them do end up fighting again and reigniting this feud, because I know they have a lot more to give. But holy crap, that was one of the best moments of this year. So kudos to both those gentlemen on a job well done.
Number 2. Dolph Ziggler versus The Miz in a title versus career match at No Mercy.
Now, in the past, The Miz and Dolph Ziggler have fought thousands of times against one another, and every single time they have fought has always been truly breathtaking and something great to watch. Now, how could WWE possibly get you to want to be invested in this match yet one more time? Pull out one of the oldest tricks in the books and put on the whole title for career storyline. You know what? I've seen it a billion times, and every time it's been great. And this match was no different than the rest of them. The overall build leading into this match was truly just absolutely breathtaking. Like, storyline wise, like, see, I'm getting all like emotional just thinking about how drawn I was to this match. For a mid-month filler pay-per-view, I really wasn't overly invested in really any of the other matches, but this match made me want to watch it. The Miz coming out and pretty much smashing Dolph Ziggler, showing him like all of his previous failures as a wrestler, like the whole Spirit Squad thing and just all that. And it just like you felt for Dolph, like you felt that he needed to win this match, but the storyline wise, you also considered that he might lose this match because. A lot of people have been saying for the past few years, the Dolph Ziggler, should retire. He's coming to the end of his run. So this match, I had no idea what was going to happen. Was he going to win the Intercontinental Championship or was he going to lose and retire? Normally, with a lot of these titles versus career, you can always pick the clear winner going into it. But this time, I was completely undecided of who was going to win. And the match itself, they tore down the house. All the false endings that they did with each other, the constant counters back and forth, Maurice interfering, then Dolph kicking out, the Spirit Squad coming in, interfering, Dolph kicking out. Like every time you'd think Dolph's career is about to end, he would just find a way to get out. And then at the end, he hits Miz with the super kick, gets the 3 count, grabs the belt, and just the celebration he had in the crowd was absolutely amazing. I was in tears pretty much watching the match because it was a beautiful moment. At the end of the match, having him hold up the title, just seeing the Miz's pissed off look, because you knew that this wasn't the end of this feud. You know that they would go on again, which I hope they would fight forever. Just to use that term, fight forever. I love every single time these two guys are in the ring together, and it's for the overall build up to this match, the match itself and the aftermath is definitely one of my favorite moments of the year. The main reason why it's so high on this list, it was just absolutely such a great ending to the feud, but also a good opening for the future feud that that they're going to have. Beautiful storytelling, beautiful match, one of the best moments of the year, hands down.
Number 1. The 4-way IC title match at Extreme Rules.
I know what you guys are thinking. This is an absolute shocker compared to all the other wrestling critics lists out there. And I consider it too, just kind of reading other people's lists before deciding on my own, just to kind of get a little bit of influence. And I was really shocked that this match here wasn't really on anybody's list. Overall, the build to the match, there wasn't really a lot going on. But the main reason why I'm counting this as my number 1 pick of the year was the way I felt after watching the match. The fact that I was in complete shock and awe after the match, because I feel like that I had just witnessed like the second coming of like a wrestling god, essentially. This match just kept me on the edge of my seat the entire time. All 4 of those guys battled so freaking hard in the match that I was just like every time something was about to happen, something else would happen. Like it was so unpredictable. I had no idea what was going on. I had no idea how it was going to finish. Like they worked so amazingly with each other that like I'm still getting goosebumps thinking about it. And that's the reason why this is number one on my list. The fact that I still think about the match to this day. I still go back and watch it as often as I can. The fact that like my hair is standing on end just thinking about how good this match. To me, that's what makes a good wrestling match, is the fact that you're able to talk about it days, weeks, months, years to come down the road. Like, did it advance any major storylines? No. Was it one of the best matches, according to wrestling columnists? No. It's the fact that I'm still getting goosebumps and like heart palpitations thinking about how awesome this match was, is why it's number one on my list. Sure, there's tons of other stuff out there, but I just feel that this match made me feel like how I did when I was a little kid, first watching wrestling. It made me, believe that, just anything can happen in the world of wrestling. And these four guys absolutely tore the house down. It was great to see all four of them just work so well with one another. And just the ending itself was truly breathtaking. And that main reason, the fact that, I still think about this match to this day, that it left such an impression on my mind for this entire year, is that it's number one on the list. So, well, we got this list going. I know that I have finished my top 5, but I figured I'd like to throw in a little bit of bonus content. That's right. So, for a limited time only, I'm actually going to throw in 2 little quick random picks in there. I decided, to do like my top 5 favorite match of the year, but I'm also going to do my favorite feel-good moment of the year and the worst moment of the year as picked by me, because this is my station. So, without further ado, my favorite feel-good moment of 2016 is
Bayley's debut as Sasha Banks' partner at Battleground.
Leading up to this match, everyone kind of figured what the outcome was going to be. Like, Bayley was still sitting on the on the NXT roster. She wasn't called up when she should have been, which was really shocking. Like, the fact that she wasn't called up during the draft really shocked a lot of people. So, of course, like Sasha fighting Charlotte and Dana Brooke, a mystery partner. Like, everyone just right on social media the day that match was announced, everyone says, oh, it's going to be Bayley, it's going to be Bayley. Even myself, I even tweeted saying it's going to be Bayley, like, we're not stupid, WWE. But as it kind of got closer to it, Sasha, kind of started tweeting like, no, why would I pick Bayley? That's a stupid choice. So then, you kind of started to second guess yourself. You kind of started to think, well, wait, what if it isn't Bayley? Like, well, Nikki Bella's been medically cleared. What if it's her? Well, when Nia Jax was just, signed by Raw, what if it's her? And it's the fact that, there was that second guessing that you're thinking, well, maybe it might not be Bayley, because they still really do need her in NXT. So, the pay-per-view hits, and as soon as Bayley's music hit, I, along with the rest of the internet, lost their minds. It was one of the biggest crowd pops this year, hands down. And just the look of Sasha Banks' face. Because she had that big grin on her face. You all know what I'm talking about. You guys saw that. You could tell that, she flat out felt like, I got you guys. I got you. And just due to, the huge crowd reaction that Bayley got, the look on Sasha's face, the little goosebumpy feeling that you got that, this was Bayley's time to shine. Granted, it wasn't a great match. It wasn't, it was one of the lower end matches of the year, but the fact that she got such a huge pop, and just it was just a real feel good moment of the year, and I still go back and then I watch that crowd reaction when her music hit, and so it's my pick is my favorite feel good moment of 2016, and of course with the best has to come the worst. So my pick for the worst moment of 2016 goes to
the Old Day skit from Monday Night Raw.
As if there was any other possible guess that I could have thrown in there. No copious amounts of alcohol can save me from the remembrance of the Old Day skit. I don't get it. I'm a huge fan of the New Day. I'm a huge fan of the club. How can you possibly mess up their feud with each other? like, I understand that Vince McMahon gets off, I guess, on, like, crapping on creations that he didn't come up with. Like any New Japan person he's ever signed, any TNA guy he's ever signed, he always gives a hard time. He always gives them shit bookings. Like, and like the club, like I said, like, they were dominant in New Japan. They were one of the best freaking teams in New Japan. And then they've come over and they've done absolutely nothing. And then he books them in this ridiculous storyline where they're, like, wannabe doctors or like the owners of the retirement home, and thus the old day skit came. Just everything about that skit was absolutely unwatchable. Like the fact that, like, you could see in the club's eyes that they didn't want to do it. When New Day came out at the end to, like, beat up on the old day, you could see that they didn't want to do this. The actors playing the old day, you could see that they didn't want to do this. Like, all the writers are probably in the back, like, just hanging their heads in shame. Like, how the hell did we come up with this? And meanwhile, Vince is just sitting in his chair laughing his ass off. It was not original. It was not funny. It was borderline shit. And it just made me feel bad for everybody who was involved with it. So it's for that reason that is the worst moment of 2016. So there you guys have it. My pick for my top 5 matches of WWE or NXT for the year 2016. Once again, thank you guys so much for all the support we've gotten this year on the channel. It makes me really happy to put out these videos for you guys as much as I oftenly do. Thank you guys for all your comments, your emails, your messages. So please leave all the comments you like in the section below. I will always read them and I always try to respond to them as much as possible. If you like the video, crush that like button. Please subscribe for more great videos. Follow us on Twitter using the 2 name tags below. And as usual, this is JP from KayFabe Chronicles, and I'll see you guys next time.